It works.
I'd like to call a meeting to order if I could, and would you do roll meeting, please?
Mueller.
Here.
White, absent. Schrader.
Here.
Hinderman, here. Pohl.
Here.
Bowden.
Here.
Andrews.
Here. Item 2 is proof of giving public meeting notice, Aaron.
Yep, notices were posted at both schools, sent to the village of Dickeyville, and to the city hall, and members of the media on Tuesday, November 15th, 2020.
And welcome, everybody. This must be like church where nobody occupies the front 2 rows of chairs. Item 3 is the consideration of the consent agenda. Are there any items A through F the board would like to hold for further discussion? Hearing none, would someone move?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I will.
I'll second.
Mueller.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Then we're to the administrative reports. And we would like, Chris, if you can introduce the robotics team, we'll have them go first.
Robotics is here to present to you tonight. They're working on a couple competitions that they've got coming up here in December and January? December.
And I can tell all of you, every year, this is one of the board's favorite meetings, where you guys come in and show what you can do. It's amazing. So, good luck.
So we are the Cuba City FTC Robotics Team 15382. I am not a robot. This is our robot this year. I'm Lucas Hendrickson. I'm one of the builders on the team.
I'm Reese Hill. I help with building, design, outreach, and programming.
I'm Emma Minigan. I do social media, the management side of it, and a little bit of building.
My name's Cameron Hendrickson, and I do social media and I organize a lot of stuff.
I'm Bella Austin. I'm a sophomore this year, and I help with building, outreach, and designing.
I'm Brooklyn Brewer. I'm a freshman, and I help with programming and building.
And then featured with us not today would be Hector Mendez building, James Creed building and 3D designing. And then 2 other freshmen, River and Izzy, who are both builders and part of social media.
So basically, every year we have a challenge, and this year's challenge is we have to pick up these little pixels, and there's 4 different colored pixels. And so what you want to do is there's a backstage. So you want to, and it's a slanted backstage, so it's slanted about like this. So what you want to do is you want to pick up the pixels, which are on the ground, and you want to put them back on the backstage and set them up. So you can get different points by doing that by simply just putting 1 on the backstage or by putting a group of 3 colors together. The more colors you have together, the more points you get. And there are also bars over top. So you can't move those bars. There's only one that you can move going one direction. So that was a big challenge for us, is to make sure our robot is short enough so it can maneuver around all those different bars without having to go to the one-way door. Yeah.
So for our robot this year, kind of featured as of right now, we have our claw and arm mechanism.
Can you move it out of way so we can see it, please? Or is that interfere with you? There you go.
So basically it goes up and down, and then it slides out. We're working on getting it to a perfect speed, and just so that way we can slide it back and forth without any problems. As of right now, we're still working on a claw, which I have designed up in CAD, and basically it's going to be like a trapezoidal piece that'll fit in one of the insides of this cube, and it'll work almost like a pair of chopsticks. It'll go inside and then expand and hold it in place. And we're going to have 2 of those on there that'll be controlled by servos, and basically it'll open and close, and then we'll set it on that backstage piece. What else? Okay, so that's pretty much it for our functioning. We also have this paper plane. Basically, towards the end of the game, there's a 30-second time period called end game, and what we're supposed to do is aim this plane, and it's got to go over the trap doors and then land just over the kind of barrier that surrounds the playing field in order to get the maximum amount of points.
Yeah, so actually, this plane launcher went through a lot of different iterations. It definitely did not always look like this, and it definitely did not work as smoothly as we'll show you in a bit here. Right now it's a pretty streamlined design where we just have it pull back and slingshot. But it used to have the rubber band come up and hit it instead, and that ended up destroying the back of the plane. We were like, well, we don't want that. So we just made it again, but like slightly different, and that didn't work at all. So we put a piece of tape on the string. We're like, that won't break it at all. It did. We took the whole thing apart, and we were like, okay, so we need the paper airplane to guide against something. So we ended up that's why it's like square shaped, so so the paper airplane has a guide, and then it just launches it with that servo. If Lucas wants to show you how it works.
Just want to step away.
This year we decided to do some sponsoring by contacting some companies. We sent out letters to 13 teams, 13 companies, and 10 of them were technical companies. And we received donations from Burn Bomb Drone Service, Farm Tech, and Delta 3.
So far, we have $800 from them, and we sent them by writing hand letters because we decided that was the most effective way. Because normally companies will just get emails, look at them, sometimes decide if they want to actually do it or not. But then if we put the time into actually handwriting it and everything, they might actually consider it. So then we spent the time to do that. And yeah, we've had 4 contact us back, and we're waiting on 1 to reply.
And we also decided to focus on local companies so that it's more to the heart, and
And we also decided to do a little bit of fundraising. We are doing a Culver Share Night in January. I believe it's January 30th. So.
Yeah, and then we have 2 competitions this year. The first one is December 2nd in Milwaukee, and then our second one is December 16th at Boulders, Wisconsin. And I think that's it.
Balders. It'll be at Balders High School.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the main stuff that goes into this, getting our robot to function, and how it's been. We faced a lot of challenges. We've had to remount the slides probably 3 times. We've had to redo the airplane. I think the airplane launcher went through 3 different sets of people. Everyone altered each other's ideas. The slides we had to rebuild 4 times. We used to have, it's gone through a lot, and it's really working really well. So that's the main stuff that's gone into it.
Yeah, and we just want to thank the board for supporting us through, I don't know.
All of it. So, do you have anything else you want?
I don't think so. Are there any questions that
Yeah.
anybody has about it?
So with the competition, is there a preset route where where the highest value pixels will be placed, or is it, hey, you get 2 minutes before
So-
the
Pretty much
competition begins?
random, and it'll be not even 2 minutes. It'll be every other team, and you just kind of go around and pick up, and you talk with another teammate that you're gonna get, which will be a completely other random team, and that's kind of what makes it fun because one team might be with you one match and could be your opponent the very next, and that makes it really interesting discussing with everybody's ideas. I know last year what me and another current senior did was we walked around the entire thing, asked everybody what their autonomous is, what their plan is for the controller period, and what we should do in order to work with them and make everything function.
And also how it is you have a set amount of pixels outside of it, and you have an extra, so you have your 2 drivers for each team, and then you have another person who can set the pixels in the game field. So it's kind of just like having a route in your head. So I can go put this pixel here, but then another team could go mess that all up. So it's kind of just, you kind of want to just hope that they don't do anything, but you do generally want to have a set route for driving period. There's also the autonomous mode, which is where it's a pre-programmed thing. So you have it pre-programmed for 30 seconds. So generally in that, you'll use a camera because it's parking based on randomized pictures. And then along with that is if you can get it, there's different parking spots where you want to go and park. There's also different pixels that are pre-set out and you can preload pixels. And that would be the most direct set where you come in and you just drop them there to get the most amount of points. And it's kind of strategically and logically thinking through that. So it's kind of just setting up the best route, pre-planned best route. So there are multiple different ones. It also just depends on how your other team's going to act and the teams you're going against act.
Very cool. Thank you.
So what role does your mentor play? Meaning, does he
He kind of gives us a bit of our like ideas. He's not really allowed to help us build or anything, but
Okay.
we kind of bounce ideas off him, see what he thinks might work, and then we put it into our robots, see if it does. Like tonight, we were doing a lot of programming with the arm, and that was basically just to figure out what was going on because I left for literally 5 minutes tonight, and then it wasn't functioning the right way. It was kind of like some weird thing where you press it, and then it was doing its own thing after you released. But we managed to get it figured out, and then we're going to try and update it so it becomes a lot easier and a lot smoother to do during a competition, so it's not even a second thought.
Yeah, like Cody tries to like lead us in the right direction, but he won't like outright do anything for us. He likes to let us learn by ourselves so we can grow and try to figure it out without direct.
So what kind of dynamics is at play amongst the group as you're working? Do you have leaders or people become leaders or?
I mean, every practice, somebody kind of becomes a leader no matter what. We usually don't designate somebody to be like, hey, you're team leader, tell us what to do, work on it. We kind of have our groups, like there's kind of the builder group, then Bruce does a lot of the programming. These 3 are usually always together, just A, because they're friends, and B, because they're working on the same thing with the social media and reaching out to sponsors and outreach. So it's kind of like we break off into our groups and we get stuff done, and it works really well for us.
And like Lucas said, there's a new leader every night. Like it kind of just depends what you're working on. If you're like tonight, we did a lot of programming, but another night we'll do a lot of building. So that'll be Brooklyn and some of the freshmen coming in and saying like, hey, this is what needs to be done. And then just kind of everyone just figures out how to help each other. So I mean, there's a new leader every night.
It's mainly just like people saying their ideas out, and like when we like other people like get what they're saying, then we all kind of try to do that together.
Yeah, it's basically whatever project you're working on, somebody ends up involuntarily taking the lead, and everyone just kind of fits in like puzzle pieces. It's no like really fighting or anything. It's just like this is the person who knows what they want done, so let's go help them.
Thank you.
Great job.
Nice job and good luck.
All righty, next on the docket is the Troy, Chris, and Aaron show for state assessments.
So yesterday, you guys gonna stay there? The state report cards were released yesterday, and it was in the Telegraph Herald today, local area schools. We'll take a look at this. Our school has traditionally done really well in performance, and we were within 1 percentage point of just in the performance, which is one of the 4 categories for the state report cards. In that one category, we were about less than 1% away from being in the top 10% of performance. But we've got some areas that we can do better in. About 3 years ago, and elementary teachers, you would know better than me, was it 3 years ago we got the new math curriculum? Or 4?
We've had this one for a long time, like
That one?
15 years.
That one wasn't the new one? Okay. So in recent years, that curriculum has yielded really good results, where about 5 years ago, we always score a little bit better than the state average, but the last 2 years, math has gone up quite a bit. Our teachers have said, hey, with ELA, we could really use some increases in our phonics. And so last year, they spent the better part of a year trying to research some phonics curriculum. This year we have it. We're hoping that in 2 or 3 years, because it really does take teachers a few years to get used to that curriculum, that we see those big bumps in ELA. So we're going to take a look at some of these things, and I think we start with elementary. Troy, I'll let you get started on that.
I should have made that bigger. Our overall report card score was 64%, which meets expectations. I think we were 69 last year, so down a couple, but still obviously meeting expectations is a good thing. And our priority scores for achievement, and like Mr. Olson was saying, our achievement, as you'll see it by the numbers, is pretty good. So our ELA is 67.5%. The state average is 59.1%. But like you said, with our new phonics program, and our teachers doing a wonderful job teaching that new program, because I know it's hard to get used to a new program, I think we really feel that's going to make a good jump next year as well, even a little bit, I guess. I don't want to put too much pressure on our teachers, but they're doing a great job with that. Our math is at 81.5%. Our state average is 66.2%. So again, quite a bit above the state average. Overall, we are at 74.5%, 71.5% higher than the K-5 state schools.
So again, with achievement, it's just the state has said this raw score means that you're proficient or advanced. That's the percentage of kids who are at proficiency or at advanced. So that's what that is. Now, growth is different. Growth, they look at 2 different areas. They'll look at last year's score, and they'll say if somebody scored a 530 last year, the state average for those kids that scored a 530 is between this score and this score. So maybe next year it's a 545 to 550. If you score within that, that is just considered 1 year's normal growth. It doesn't score any points for your school. If you grow more than the state average, you get a half point or a point. And if you go below the state average. So that's one area of growth. The other area of growth is called simple growth. And that's just if you go from proficiency to advanced. So there are 2 different ways that you can score for growth. So that's a little different than the achievement.
So for our ELA, our growth is 45.1%, state being 66%, math 47 with the state being 66, and overall 46% growth, higher than 8.8% of the K-5 state schools. But again, in talking to other area schools, when the report card may go down a few spots, it's because they've raised their scores so high that it's hard to sustain that growth. I think we kind of fall into that category as well. It's hard to raise high scores. So I think that plays a part in that growth. And then I just put the last one on the bottom because we're so far from graduation, our students. Now that we're at 90.5% graduation rate, which is higher than 82.1% of the K-5 state schools. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, so middle school and high school, you're gonna see, I didn't put any of that in there. You're gonna see a lot of the same kind of things. So again, the ELA, we're above where the state levels are. Math, same thing, we're above where the state levels are. Our overall was 68.4, which meets expectations, which did drop last year. I think we were exceeds, but we were just.
The cutoff is 70.0, so I think last year we were just above it.
And again, across the board, the growth is the 66%. That's for every level. That's what the state chooses for the growth. And like Troy said, that we've set the bar pretty high, and so we have to reach pretty high to show growth, and so then that kind of affects our score.
And the calculation was changed about 2 years ago. They used to use just student data. Now in an effort to use equity over data, they take our data and they put that into an equation based on your free reduced lunch numbers. So like in Grant County, Potosi and Cuba City have the lowest free reduced lunch rates, which means that dings us on the state report card because they use that as a qualifier.
Is that the only qualifier? Is that the only thing they take into consideration? Is free and reduced lunch?
No, that
That's
is
a new
growth.
one from 2 years ago. The equation list is super long and it's got a lot of it, but that is one new piece that has changed in the last 2 years. And that's for the overall score. They use that. Did you say that one already, Chris?
Like I say, you can go ahead and go on to the high school one. And again, it's same kind of scores you're gonna see here. Math, we're obviously doing better than the ELA, but we are working to turn that around as well. And I do think that we've actually made some improvement on the ELA at the high school level anyway than we had last year. We're still making, scoring above where the state expectations are. Interesting to me was both that, we've gone down a little in some areas, but so did the state expectations have dropped as well. And I remember you asking me about that last year, and the state average, I guess, for those has dropped as well. So it's a trend that we see in our school, but we're also seeing it across the state as well. And that was, last thing, the on track for graduation, 100%. That was the high point in there. Obviously last year we had 100%. We're obviously going to do our best to keep that number right where it's at.
And then when we look at the district, overall score of 66.4, which is meets expectations. And again, before they made that change, we had, I think, 3 or 4 years of exceeding expectations. So ELA achievement overall, so now this is third through 11th graders, is just under 70%. This is higher than the state average of 60. Overall math achievement is about double that of over the state expectations of 14. And growth for ELA and math is again something that we'll continue to work for. But remember, as when achievement goes up, growth is just more difficult to achieve. On track for graduation really is 3rd grade reading score, 8th grade math score, daily attendance, and graduation rate. So and not everybody has all those. Like elementary school only has 3rd grade reading for the score. Middle school only has 8th grade. High school only has they have attendance and graduation. But then district that incorporates all of those. So they didn't have a state average for that, but 90.4. We were above average in all 4 of those individual qualifiers. They just don't have an overall score. So that's for the district. So any questions on any of those items?
Is this just the forward exam or what else goes
This is a
into it?
forward, this is a DLM, and then at the high school, it's the pre-ACT now. This is also the 4th time they've changed the high school assessment. Last year, it was ACT Aspire.
Yep.
Then now it's the pre-ACT and the ACT. So pre-ACT at 9th grade, pre-ACT at 10th grade, ACT at 11th.
I think they do actually have one more ACT in there now as well. I don't remember what that one was called. There's another one. There's actually 3 different ones.
And I'm curious, as more 4-year and 2-year institutions move away from requiring test scores like the ACT, do you see any of that trickle down happening here where maybe that doesn't get weighed as heavily because not as many students are taking it to take that next step?
Well, right now, the legislature says all juniors have to take it, and it's on a specific day, like March 3rd.
Yeah, it's a graduation requirement for us, for Wisconsin, so.
But that would take a
that
legislative
changed,
change.
Yeah.
Okay, just seeing it at the higher education level.
Yep, more and more
Fewer
are
and
going
fewer
away
schools
from
are requiring
ACTs
it at
and
all.
SATs.
And we do have another data point we can look at. It doesn't go into the state report card, but we did actually have a group of students just take the PSAT, and the initial results were very good. That's not one that everybody has to take, but
That was optional.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And,
Oh, yeah, since we were doing that, I just told Deb and Heather are not doing a report. Do you have anything that?
I don't think fabulous.
Okay.
I do have a couple of thank yous, so.
Go ahead.
Melissa Gilstrap spends a good deal of time in the summer working on what we call Indicator 14. And she contacts all of the graduates from a year prior, just to see what they're doing. It helps us plan and create programs for students to make their experience better. And we just got notification that she did get 100% return on those and generated a nice little chunk of reimbursement for the district. So thank you very much to Melissa. And also thank you to Jesse Donar and Pam Tranel. We are meeting tomorrow to hopefully get through the last of our WISE data. Some of this is like finding a needle in a haystack. And it's really important that our data is correct and we're accounting for all of the students in our district because that's what generates our funding. So thank you to Pam and Jesse as well. Those are the only fabulous people.
All right, thank you. Now we're gonna move on to item 5, discussion of additional scope items for the building project if the district receives the FEMA BRIC grant.
Just kind of an update and overview of that. Today we had another meeting with some updates. The Wisconsin Emergency Management, who's right now kind of in charge of our FEMA grant, hopefully is planning on getting us approval or non-approval, it's approval, by January 1st. So they've got a couple different things. They've got to do the environmental and historical study, which we found out what the questions were going to be, and we feel pretty confident. The questions revolve around like what types of trees are going to be knocked down. Well, ours is a parking lot, so none. We're not going to dislodge any animals or birds or anything. The other one was, what do you think is buried underneath your area? It's a parking lot. So there were some pretty easy questions. Potosi, who's not in our situation, they've got to pass a referendum to get the matching funds first. Got theirs before we got ours, which is a little odd, but so we knew what those questions were, and we think that'll go pretty smoothly. Then they have to meet with the tribal council to make sure that there's nothing buried under our parking lot as well. So if that gets done by January 1st, that means our architects can get drawing all the new structures. Right now, they're kind of they could draw out some of them, but not to the spec that we had ready before we got the grant. So what that means is that things are still pushed off a little bit. We're not full going in design yet because we can't, but it's going to take a little longer than we thought. So Chuck and Gary, you guys were at that meeting. Anything else about the FEMA or BRIC grant that I missed?
Chuck?
A little bit better meeting today than it was 2 weeks ago. There's a little bit better hope. I mean, yeah, it's just time.
No, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
I described Aaron, it's like the kid at Christmas time. You can't wait to open your present, and we're being told we can't. But it was all really positive and upbeat and very encouraging that, if everything proceeds as is, there will be a lot of money for extra projects above and beyond what was originally earmarked. So, and that's fun discussion as to what additionally you can do. And so we actually had some financial numbers that were shared to lead us to believe that if everything is in the Christmas stocking, why we will be able to have a lot of extra projects.
Just not this Christmas.
Yep, maybe not even next.
Maybe not next
Christmas.
Yep.
So it's gonna be basically we have to have everything done 2 years from this month. We're already 1 year out.
Yeah.
So it was 3 years to spend the referendum money.
Right.
So there's gonna be a lot of work, and there might be some pain and suffering along the way as far as, making things interesting from both students and staff as to pull off doing, $30 million or more of building projects, but hang in there. It'll be worth it in the end. So item 2 is discussion of the April 24 operating referendum here.
Yeah, we have a meeting with Baird next week and talking with Quarles Brady, who writes the language for referendums, and there's pretty much two companies. We use Quarles and Brady. There's two companies that schools use. Baird is our financial advisor. So they're going to walk us through some models that they have based on our projected numbers, not knowing obviously what the next budget is going to look like, but they just kind of put educated guesses in there. And enrollment trends, what it would look like to have a continuing operating referendum versus a non-recurring operating referendum. So in the past, our school district has successfully run 3 recurring operating referendums. So that means once that gets on the book, that stays there until the school is no longer a school. Non-recurring is something that Benton frequently does, where they'll say, this year we need 300,000, the year after it's 350, the next year it's 400, and the next year after that it's 500 or something like that. So you know it's only for 4 years and you know the numbers ahead of time. So they're suggesting we look at both of those things and looking at our numbers to see what we need. And we're really just trying to get to our current staffing level and our current program level. We're not running this to add more. We just want to maintain what we currently have. And so that's what we're going to be targeting with the numbers. So the reason I put that on there as a discussion is in order to meet the deadline for next year, we would have to have the language adopted by our January meeting, which is Wednesday, January 17th. We would have to have it sent into the state by Friday, January 19th. So at our December meeting, we'll talk about more information from that Baird meeting on what the 2 different options look like. And again, the big thing is we're just trying to retain what we currently have. We want to make sure that we're able to retain good staff and keep all of our programming.
Questions, board? Alrighty. Public recognition, there was none. We're at item 7, new business, approve the date and time for the December regular board meeting. Is December 20th okay, or do we change it?
I believe the St. Rose Christmas concert is the week before that, 13th, so I think this should be.
I'm unavailable that night, but
Just 20th?
yes.
Sarah said she can make this one, so we set one out.
So it's all right with the majority?
Yep, so we don't have to move on that.
For now,
Don't
nothing
jinx
said.
it.
All right. Item B is approve the gymnastics co-op with Southwestern for the 24-25 school year.
Yep, this is for next year. We have to do gymnastics every year. Some co-ops are 2 years. This is a 1 year. We've been recurring this into the near future, so I recommend we approve this.
If there's no questions, would someone move?
I'll move to approve the gymnastics co-op with Southwestern for the 2024-25 school year as presented.
Is there a second?
I will second. Mueller,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item C is approve the one-time MOU regarding the early retirement agreements to those who meet the criteria.
Yep, this was sent out to several teachers. We had a couple that turned them back in. You'll see those in your notes. Those people have asked that they have some time to share those with the people that they want to share. So we're just approving the people who turned in the needed paperwork on time.
Any questions? Would someone move?
I'll move to approve one-time MOU regarding the early retirement agreements to those who have met the criteria as presented.
I will second it.
Mueller,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item D is approved vehicle purchases.
Yep, several months ago, the board approved purchases of 2 vans, which we found out in August that Ford no longer makes. So we had to go into some different paths here. And we're also looking at purchasing a sedan used for some of our longer trips that are on daily routes, just because of fuel efficiency as well. So we'll be looking at 1 used van, 1 new van, and 1 sedan here. If you look at our vans, we have 3 different large passenger vans. 1 is really rusty. We were thinking about trading that in after talking with the custodians. They said, you know what, it's a good van, it's just ugly. We'd like to keep it for buildings and grounds. We didn't have a good trade-in value for it, so they thought we could use it around here when we're moving things from place to place. So we're not planning on trading any of those in, but we wouldn't be sending students and staff in those. So we would have 2 large passenger vans, and we'll have multiple minivans now. So there's a state law that says schools can no longer purchase 12 passenger vans. You used to be able to purchase 12 passenger vans if you took out a row of seats. That is no longer an option for schools. They just don't sell a lot of 10 passenger vans. There were some conversions. We could buy a cargo van and try to retrofit some seats in there. And that just didn't seem like a good idea. It looked like going the minivan route was better.
Other questions, board of?
I got a couple of questions here.
Yep.
What's the warranty on the used vans? Is there any 30 days or is there more longer than that?
It was in the handout that you have. The warranty was.
I didn't look at it, so I don't know what the warranty that is.
5 years, 60,000 mile powertrain warranty on the vans.
Is that
On the new one, correct?
The used one's probably used.
That is the used one. Yeah. And
But the used one's set at 42,000.
the new one as well comes out. They both have 5 years, 60,000 miles.
But the used one's got 42,000 on it, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so it only goes to 50, you only got about 7,300 miles of warranty. 'Cause my concern, is.
There was a 5-year additional warranty for 2,500. That is an option.
What does that cover, drivetrain or bumper to bumper?
I can check that and get back to you.
Huh?
I can look into that.
Okay, I mean, that's just,
For
Just
used
a
cars,
thought.
I'm assuming that's drivetrain. I don't think that's bumper to bumper.
all right.
Other questions? If none, would someone move?
I'll move to approve vehicle purchases as presented.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Euler,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Henneman, yes. Pohl,
No,
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item E is approve the certified staff wage increases.
Yep, after a few personnel committee meetings, we settled with CCEA. It was our tertiary offer, which is linked for you. This includes a 4.85 base wage raise, different supplemental wage increases, and that was determined by the CCEA because they had the control on where that was distributed. On average, it comes out to an average salary increase of about 5.4 total %. Our personnel committee is focused on having a high and competitive starting and ending salary for our teachers, and we believe that this has done that as well.
Are there any questions?
I have some. Okay, so we're starting at $46,000.
Yep.
If I'm a brand new teacher out of college.
Yep.
And what are we doing for the teachers that are here? Like, just explain it to me. If I'm already working here, but I make under that, then how does that,
Under 46?
yes.
No one's going to be under 46.
So everyone got at least a $2,400 base wage increase. That went up.
So no more salary schedule.
There is no more salary schedule.
So
There was
then,
one proposed that was rejected.
okay, so if someone comes in, let's say me, with 15 years experience, where do I fall?
At this point, I believe it's up to Aaron as to where they place them on the salary scale. Or what they pay them, I guess, because there's no salary scale.
Right.
Well, let me say it that way.
So how does that compare to me coming in with 15 years and someone out in the audience
That
that has
doesn't,
15
probably
years?
doesn't make any difference. It's going to be probably supply and demand in some cases.
So it would be better for them possibly to resign and come back and get more money? Because I feel like we're not doing enough for the people that are already here. And it's like, hey, new teachers, we need you, and here's some money. But then, like, the people that are already here maybe aren't feeling as
So what we did is identified, here's our base wage increase, and I'm just going to use round numbers here. here's $130,000 that nobody's gonna make less than $2,400 from last year. So that's step A. Then we said we also want to allocate this chunk, let's just say it's $50,000. And we had our ideas on how we can distribute that to answer those questions. But that's part of that collective bargaining agreement. The CCEA had their idea, we had our idea, and we allowed them to come up with the distribution model. So that's kind of how the process went.
And if, regarding the appreciation, if we had to give what Platteville did, 8%, or what Wanakee gave my son-in-law, 8%, we probably would have done more than we did. We are actually giving money that we actually don't have in terms of, I know you're making a face at
Oh, I don't know how
But
we do that.
in terms of, well, that's why we're
gonna go
going to
over budget.
operating referendum, so
okay.
we're over budget. By, if in fact this was probably something that you didn't have to negotiate the wage, i.e. a business, there'd have probably been no wage increase at all. Because you couldn't, you didn't have the money per se to give. So some businesses, including some that I used to work for, would say there's a wage freeze.
So
Okay.
we'll be going into our fund balance with that, the money that we don't have is what we were talking about.
And I told them they're appreciated.
Well, they're appreciated.
Could
That
we-
was probably
could
the
we-
wrong word. I just,
Could we give them more money? You bet, you can reject this and we can go back. But we, in essence, negotiated. Obviously, they asked for more than what we're giving them.
my concern is teachers that are getting hired more recently it's not a fair salary compared to the people that are already here. And I would hate for them to leave us because they're not getting what new people coming in. Despite years of service, despite master's degree, I don't care about that. I'm worried that we're gonna lose more good people because this new teacher is getting this much money. I've been here 10 years, let's say, and I'm only like here.
So whenever you're doing bargaining, and I know some CCA members are here and we're here as well. The other side of that is if you do those things and you take away from whenever you give more money to a certain group of people, whether it's the new people, you're taking that away from a different group, and then those people feel the same way. So when there's not enough money, it's you've got to, okay, this benefits this group, this benefits that group. So some people benefited more than our younger teachers during this round of negotiations. That's a fact.
Can I talk to these people that were part of that or no? And ask.
Well, I would rather you not, because at this point, literally, you seem to be advocating for something that we already negotiated and agreed upon. So it's
I get
almost as
that.
if you're
But I wasn't a part
reopening
of that,
negotiation.
so this is my opportunity to
Yep.
put my 2 cents in because I was not a part of that committee.
Understand?
So this is where I asked my questions. I just,
I know, you're not happy, we're not happy.
I know you're not, it's
Meaning-
just,
Meaning that we could have,
I don't want to see 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 15 people resign again because of things that we didn't figure out.
well, I don't want them to resign either. But unfortunately, in this day and
This is what the
age,
teachers of organization and association settled on though. Like they did have this chunk of money that they could we just said, you guys distribute it however you want to.
So then what happens next time? So then
it's
they
a
get
whole new
another.
ballgame.
Yeah,
We start-
every
every
year
year.
it's,
In fact,
it can
we're
change
starting,
every year.
in fact, we're starting, the next round will start in less than a year.
Yeah, in July, probably.
So this, rather than a salary schedule.
Correct. Yep, there is no salary schedule, so there's the thing of, plugging in somebody at the 10-year, which would have been lane and step, whatever, doesn't exist anymore.
I just feel like it's not good for morale for new teachers to come in making the same or more than people other things.
They don't.
Okay.
I got one.
I think what Lisa's saying though, let's say we hired a new teacher at that has 4 years of experience at Platteville, and now she comes here year 5. If we have a teacher here who came in at base 4 years ago, and every year we increase the base, they're still, that person might be making 46, even though they've been here 5 years, because every year we increase the base, but they're still at base, where if we brought somebody in from Platteville, that person, we might say, okay, well, at Platteville, they made, with 4 years of experience, they were making 52, so that's what we're gonna give them, that or 53. I think that's what you're saying,
That's
is that
exactly
correct?
what I'm saying. That really stinks, and it's gonna possibly, probably have people leaving us, and I don't know. I just wanted to at least bring it up, because I don't know how you would feel going to your job and then a new person's making more money and you've been there a while. That would,
In fact, where I used to work, I had my employees say the same thing. That in essence, do I have to quit and come back to get more money?
I know that's
So
an
I've
ugly
heard
thing to
that
say,
before.
but it's true. And they work really hard, and I just feel like I'm gonna trust the CCEA, but I just wanna go on the record and saying I don't completely love this.
Gary, I got one. Is there any benefit difference from what they had a year ago? Or did they
No.
negotiate that also?
That's not allowed to be that's not a negotiated item. So,
Okay.
and we don't have like health insurance benefits. Those usually, we'll start to get those, and we put those out in February.
All right, I just wondered.
It was just the wage is what
Just the
we
wage.
negotiated. So,
Okay, thank you.
anything else? So at this point, we have a motion to approve the certified wage increase. Would somebody care to move?
I'll move to approve the certified staff wage increase as presented.
I'll second.
You'll get there.
Get- check.
All right. Mueller,
No, thank you. No.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item F is approve the support staff wage increase.
Yep, with certified staff getting anywhere between 4.85 and 5.81 was the range. We are proposing a 5% base wage increase for all of our support staff.
Are there questions regarding that? Hearing none, I will move to approve the support staff wage increase as presented. Is there a second?
I will second.
Mueller,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item G is approve the Neola policy updates.
Yep, those policies were included. The policy committee met earlier this month, approved all of these. We had lengthy discussion on one, which I highlighted in here. It basically said the policy states the school board does not condone permanent student memorials. So if a student passes away during time, what more people are doing is making temporary ones and not permanent. Then the question was, how do we define permanent and temporary? But that does give some leeway. What a lot of schools now are doing with that is they'll say we're allowing permanent memorial. What that means is if something happens to a freshman, when their class graduates, they take that down. So it does give some flexibility. And if we did ever want to do a permanent memorial, we thought that was appropriate. It could come to the board and the board can say we're going to make an exception at this time. So we thought that was the most flexible way to do that.
If there are no questions, would somebody move?
I'll move to approve Neola policy updates as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 8, personnel, approve volunteer high school boys basketball coach Tyler Timmerman.
Yep, this is recommended by Ms. Lawson, Mr. Sander, and Mr. Sheeby, our new boys basketball coach.
Would someone move?
You go on, Elsa.
I'll move to approve Tyler Timmerman as volunteer CCHS boys basketball coach as presented.
Is there a second?
I will second. Mueller,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Approve the hiring of high school freshman coach Wyatt Molitor.
Yep, this is recommended by Ms. Lawson, Mr. Sander, Mr. Shivi as well.
Would somebody make that motion?
I'll move to approve the hiring of CCHS freshman coach Wyatt Molitor as presented.
Is there a second?
Before there's a second, do we have to specify basketball in the motion? Or is it okay to just say CCHS freshman
We call it
coach?
basketball coach, I'm sorry.
Just double check.
Good catch.
I'll second them too.
Thank you. Mueller,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Poll,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item C is approve the hiring of Miss Molly LaRue as CCES paraprofessional.
Yep, this takes the place of one of our paraeducators that left in October, and we all recommend that we approve this.
Would somebody move?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Ms. Molly LaRue as CCES paraprofessional.
Is there a second?
I will second. Mueller,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Poll,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Approve the hiring of the elementary school second shift custodian April Ryder.
Yep, she began last Monday after an interview process, and I believe she's really enjoying it. So we recommend that we approve this hire.
Are there questions? Would somebody move?
Move to approve the hiring of April Ryder as a CCES second shift custodian as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Poll,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item E is approve the hiring of Miss Grace Dressler as a CCES paraeducator.
Yep, this takes place of one of our paraeducators that left in October, and unfortunately, we found out that this dresser will also be leaving at the end of November for a different job. So in the same meeting, we will approve her hire and approve her resignation.
All right, would somebody move to approve the hire?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Miss Grace Dressler as CCES paraeducator as presented.
I will second.
Mueller,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Poll,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Committee reports, budget and finance, you last met on October 11th. And no other meeting planned or needed.
We might meet before the
December
the referendum
to go over
language.
the-
Yep, to go over the options.
That probably would be a good idea. Yep. Building and grounds, Chuck,
Well, we
anything?
haven't that, we just have our every other Wednesday meeting, but we don't have to go to the ground.
Personnel, we last met on October 11th. Is there any?
We probably won't meet again with that group until we start collective bargaining.
Okay. Policy just met on November 1st. Anything else? Megan?
Not at this time.
Okay. Technology and transportation,
We moved that.
we did not meet. We're meeting the 29th, is it? At 6 at the bus garage. Okay. Foundation, you'll meet again in January or February. And CISA 3, our meeting is next Monday night. So at this time, then we're going to move to go closed, right?
Yep, you can read that.
We're going to move to go to executive closed session for the purposes of discussing administrative compensation and contracts, as well as compensation for the food service director, building and grounds director, administrative assistants, wellness coordinator, pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985 1C, which permits convening in closed session to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. I don't know how long we'll be enclosed. Any guess?
Never give a guess.
Do I get to ask questions?
Oh, yeah. So we'll take about a 5-minute in case you need some water.